Hey everybody, I'm Matt with Mike's Bikes.
I'm Garen from Santa Cruz Bikes.
And yeah, we're here to talk about something really cool. So this is the new Heckler 9. Really excited. This is the full power, kind of do everything e-mountain bike, e-trail bike for a lot of different kinds of riding conditions. Big range, big power, kind of everything. But let's get into the nitty gritty because you've made a Heckler before, and so let's talk about kind of the evolution and how we got to this bike.
Yeah, exactly, worth noting. Heckler's gone through a bit of a metamorphosis, if you will. Heckler 8 was agile, playful fun. It had Shimano's biggest battery that they offered at the time, the 504, and it had two 27.5-inch wheels and the MX wheel option. Really, really good, fun e-bike, and it rode incredibly. We didn't get many complaints about it. Yeah. But the Heckler, what we wanted out of the e-bike experience has changed, and we've melded the Heckler into that. So this is now the full blast e-bike. All the torque, all the battery, all the options, all the sizes.
Nice, very cool.
Yeah.
So when we talk about e-bikes, I like to sort of break in half kind of the e-system on one side and then the mountain bike on the other. So let's start with the e-system. What has changed in the whole electronic system power unit?
Yeah, not a lot actually. So you got Shimano's top of the line EP8 drive unit. We're using their display, their remote switch, their power switch, and a lot of their components. The main change here is as the Heckler goes from your kind of daily backyard ripper to the big full blast adventure e-bike we're after, the battery gets a lot bigger. So Heckler 1 had a 504 watt-hour battery, Shimano's biggest at the time that we made that bike. Heckler, the new version, has a 720 watt-hour battery. Wow. So yeah,
that's a lot. Cool. So you are now at the top of the hill, and it's time to go ripping down. So what has changed on the mountain bike side of things? Suspension, spec, geometry, all that stuff.
Quite a bit actually. So if anyone remembers, the last Heckler was based around the Bronson 3. Bronson's one of our best-selling, favorite, crowd-pleasing bikes, and we really dearly love the Bronson, so we think that the all-around e-bike should be based around that, and this is no different. This is based around the latest version of the Bronson, which is an MX wheel bike.
Talk about the difference between the full 29 and the mixed wheel. What do you get as you change that rear wheel? Yeah,
one thing we didn't mention is that the Heckler is available in both full 29-inch wheels and the MX wheel setup. These share a front triangle, but they don't share a rear triangle. See, these are not interchangeable. One thing we don't like to do, Santa Cruz, is compromise. If we were to make a one rear triangle that fit both 27.5 wheel and 29er, you'd either have a really long chainstay for the 27.5 setup, or you'd have a really crappy clearance for the 29er setup. It'd just be a big compromise. So the bikes are made up of the same front triangle, different rear triangles, different link sets. They're not interchangeable, but that means you get the best performing characteristics for the wheel size you chose.
Awesome. So in that mullet setup with that smaller rear wheel, I think a lot of people still don't quite grasp the idea that it's not so much that the smaller wheel makes a bike more maneuverable and nimble, but that shrinking of the chainstay. So what's the difference here between the two wheels in that?
Yeah, so you got 445 millimeters, same as the last Heckler, on chainstay with the small rear wheel, 460 with the 29-inch wheel.
Awesome. So when you go to that 29, you get that increased stability, kind of straight line, high speed, flat out.
Yep.
But 15 mil shorter in the chainstay, because the first Heckler was so much fun with how, I mean, I hate to say that an e-bike was poppy, but it was kind of poppy that you can get the bike up and move it around, so you maintain a lot of that.
Yeah.
Now you throw in the 29er front, and you get all the massive confidence that comes with that.
Exactly. You got, with the 445, if you like to manual and hit jumps and pop and do quick corners, the MX is probably the way to go. The 29er setup is going to hold speed better. It's going to be a much better plowing bike. Yeah. Both setups, though, are going to offer you a pretty kick-ass all-around e-bike. Yeah. Like, these are really good all-arounders. They're not pigeonholed into any niches.
Sounds like a ton of fun.
Yeah.
So let's get back to that flip chip. On paper, the flip chip doesn't do a ton to the geometry, makes some small differences. You guys generally use the flip chip to change the suspension characteristics.
Yeah.
So what would a rider notice going between the two settings on the new Heckler?
Yeah, so our flip chips are about, like you said, they're more about suspension characteristics than they are geo. But you do get 3/10 slacker in the head tube angle, about 4 or 5 millimeters lower in the bottom bracket when you opt to put the flip chip in low. More importantly though, what you get is a more linear progressive shock curve. So, and by linear progressive, I mean it's a very predictable straight line from top stroke all the way through the bottom, getting more progressive consistently as you push the bike through its travel.
So what kind of riding would you choose that setup?
So in the high setting, the bike's gonna ride a little more high in the travel, give you a bit more mid-stroke support, and be a little more geared, especially with the bottom bracket being higher towards your sort of all-day pedals.
Got it.
In the low setting, the bottom bracket's a bit lower, you might pedal scrape a bit more. We're talking 4 millimeters, not much.
Right.
But what you are gonna get is better small bump. You're gonna get better, more predictable bump performance through the travel.
Get into the travel easier, so if as you're hitting bigger stuff, it's plusher feeling.
Yeah, plusher, more pillowy off the top, giving way to a bit more predictability through the stroke.
Right.
Yeah. And that, coupled with a slacker head tube angle that you get from the flip chip,
matches up.
Makes a really nice, sort of more aggressive side of the Heckler.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a lot of options, a lot of versatility for the rider. Talk more about that.
Yeah, well, first things, range. Like, range of options are wide with this bike in the sense that the battery is 214 watt hours bigger than the last one. It allows a lot
more laps.
Yeah, a lot more laps on this thing. But two, spec-wise, there's a lot of options for the customer, right? You've got small through double XL. You got all the sizes. You've got the 2-wheel configurations. You've got the lower link flip chip with the lower bearing eyelet, which we've never done on an e-bike before. In addition to that, you've got wide open shock compatibility. So a previous Heckler was, with design constraints, we had trouble basically running anything but an inline air shock. But this bike, X2, large body air shocks, coil shocks, it all fits.
Yeah.
And with that lower link, that lower setting and the lower link, it's really kind of hungry for a coil, actually.
Yeah, it could be a fun bike with a coil.
It could be a wonderful bike with a coil.
Yeah.
On top of that, with spec, there's a lot of cool new stuff. Like, for instance, there's a new GX Axis kit we're offering. So
nice.
You've got R, S, XT, GX Axis, and the big dog X01 Axis Reserve.
Yeah.
But where the GX Axis is cool is that it bridges the gap between S and the very high end by offering, wireless shifting, but more importantly, a really nice suspension upgrade package over the S kit without jumping up to the big leagues as far as dollars go. So pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's nice, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to throw a leg over and check it out. Obviously, if you've watched our videos, I'm a big fan of everything e-bikes. They're so much fun. Yeah. So really stoked to give this a shot. And hopefully, at the time of us shooting this, we are expecting to have bikes in our stock at the time of launch, but you never know if the supply chain demons are gonna come up and take a bite. So fingers crossed on that, but sounds like you guys knocked it out of the park. A lot of options for a lot of different riders. We're gonna have both wheel configurations. At least we have ordered both. I'm not sure what we'll have in stock, but yeah, we're really excited. So
cool.
Thanks,
well, I'll leave this one with you and enjoy. I'm gonna knock it over.
Yes. When he said leave it, you mean me personally? So,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice try. Yeah. All right. Thanks, pal.
Right on. Thanks, man.